Only two quarterbacks go in the first round of Kyle Krabs' latest mock draft. We're breaking that down and more today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is sponsored by Ultimate GM. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your franchise.
Joe, happy Victory Tuesday to anybody who's celebrating. Nudge, nudge. Wink, wink.
Is it the Dolphins and the Bears? Are the Bears also celebrating?
Yeah, Shane Waldron dismissed, relieved of his duties. We'll talk about the Bears and the Dolphins and the Steelers and the Rams and every other team in the NFL with this mock draft. This mock draft dropped over at the 33rd team yesterday. I think you were so kind to point out this is the sixth mock that I have done this season for the 33rd team. And you've undergone this experience, so you could probably speak to this. And we're going to jump into the picks and get started here. We're going to look at the two quarterbacks only going in the first round is the first place we're going to start. But you've had this experience a little bit more spaced out, when we worked together in the draft space of assembling a mock and what that process looks like and how it evolves from the beginning of the season to when you're kind of projecting what the order is going to look like to when it really starts to like finalize and gel and you get a feel for where the team needs are and the directions of the teams. This was the first time I kind of felt where it was going to go. Do you remember having that feeling, like sitting down to write a mock draft and you're like, early in the season, it's October, you're like, I don't know, gonna start writing, and then like maybe I'll surprise myself where some picks snap into place. This one coming into this weekend, I kind of had a good vibe on all the teams and the players that are in consideration with how they've played this season.
I think that's a good spot to be for you, and I think having done 6 already helps you. I don't know that I've ever been in that spot in mid-November because normally at this point I'd have like maybe 2.
Maybe 2.
mock,
maybe 3 if you caught the first to draw in the summertime.
Yeah. Which sometimes that was the case. So that's exciting.
For being a mock draft champion, you get your first name up, your day one opening day starter for
right. No good deed ever goes unpunished. Not only do you have to do the first mock draft, you have to do the way too early mock draft in May.
That's right.
Don't never
win the mock draft and never win huddle report.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. All right, let's get into it. I haven't seen the mock, so the whole mystery situation. What's cool, if you go to the 33rdteam.com, where there's a link in today's show notes to read Kyle Krabs' mock draft for yourself, there's a little thing here that tells you how far you've scrolled. It's 100 yards for a football field. I'm 9 yards into this thing, and I can see that the Jacksonville Jaguars are making the number 1 overall pick. And this feels like a pick that they'd love to trade out from if this winds up being the case. They go with Travis Hunter, the football player from Colorado. But I know that the big story here is that there's only 2 first-round quarterbacks. I'm guessing they go in the top 10. So I'm going to give myself the liberty. Okay, they go in the top 5. We have Cam Ward, 2 to the Giants. We have Shedeur Sanders, 5 to the Raiders. That passes the sniff test for me. Maybe the bigger conversation here is more about why there's not another quarterback that's going to come at all after these first 5 picks.
Well, and you've seen way too much variance, I think, from the quarterbacks that are kind of vying to be the next in line. And every single one of them has additional eligibility. So that's like the complicating factor is Drew Aller has more eligibility at Penn State. Jalen Milroe has more of it eligibility at Alabama. Garrett Nussmeier has more eligibility as a fourth-year junior at LSU, and the last 6 quarters he's played has been the worst 6 quarters he's played this season as a guy who came into this year with 1 career start, right? So, I mean, you're at the point now where you're just hitting double-digit starts for Garrett Nussmeier. All of those things combined I think the point that you make about Jacksonville and trading out, this was the argument that we got into yesterday about, like, what does Jacksonville do with Doug Peterson? Like, I let it ride because this was the draft order. The draft order I used was the draft order after Sunday Night Football. So the only game that's not reflected here is Dolphins Rams. Giants, Titans, Browns, Raiders are 2 through 5. And one of those quarterbacks has expressed a desire to, or at least people within his camp have expressed a desire to directly influence where he's going to go.
Yeah.
So now it's like, well, we have Trevor Lawrence. What if Shedeur tells the Giants, your situation's too bad, I don't want to play there? Tennessee, I'm not interested in coming to play with you. And the Cleveland Browns, you guys have too much money over the next 2 years wrapped up in a quarterback. I don't want to come play there. Now you got these 3 teams, and it's like, well, Jacksonville's ready to get out. We could still move down, stay in the top 5, and take really the only quarterback that has separated himself from the pack. He's not a player without his own warts and Cam Ward. But it's just like the supply and demand and the opportunity for Jacksonville, like a golden opportunity for them. They may very well still be in a position to do this and then still take Travis Hunter.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, if quarterbacks go early like they're supposed to, you do see that movement. You know who the Jacksonville Jaguars play this week? Don't look. Do you know who it is?
No.
Who would be the worst imaginable team that they could play this week?
The Detroit Lions?
Yeah, they play the Detroit Lions.
Oh,
no. the spread won't be big enough.
Mac Jones on the Jaguars with Doug calling plays, playing Detroit, huh?
Spread cannot be big enough. Okay, I've scrolled. Now I see pick 6, and I see that Christian Wilkins is back on the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, Mason Graham was the pick here at 6. After the win last night, Miami would go to 10 in the order, and I would tell you Mason Graham would not make it to 10. But with the names that went in the top 5, the 2 quarterbacks, Travis Hunter and Will Johnson, a couple of elite players. Tennessee went a little bit of a different direction. I'll use that as a tease. But I don't think they, with Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat, would be picking Mason Graham anyway. So I think he'd make it to 6 in this scenario regardless. Calais Campbell's been awesome. And he was awesome again last night.
He's 28 years old, right?
He's 38 years old. The button the Dolphins pushed to replace Christian Wilkins with Calais Campbell's been an awesome one.
What is that
about 25 million less per season? But it's a lot less runway and it's on a snap count. But I think you could bring in Mason Graham. I think the edge room for Miami's probably going to look a little different. Chop Robinson's coming on, but like Calais Campbell can play out there too. So like you could live in a world where I think you could have Zach Sealer, Mason Graham, and Calais Campbell all on the field at the same time with whoever the other edge rusher.
That feels good.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but if after Miami won the game last night, Mason Graham probably goes to the Jets.
Yeah.
At 8 with the adjusted draft order.
I would think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Because the Patriots would move up. I have them going offensive line. The Saints, I have them going with a little bit of a different direction on defense. And obviously Brian Brzee is a recent first-round pick. I don't think they would go Mason Graham there. So the Jets at 8 would be the landing spot for Mason Graham.
Well, Colin Cowherd's still wondering if Christian Wilkins is going to play last night for the Dolphins. Not sure if he caught that a little bit.
Yeah, I've caught a few Cowherd receipts recently.
Yeah. Real quick on this one, Panthers go Jalen Walker, linebacker, I guess hybrid player out of Georgia. We're doing him tomorrow. I'm watching him. We're going to have all the comments about Carter. I'm really excited to see him. You got him going number 10 here to Carolina. Obviously a big need in terms of pass rush.
So you like Frankie Louvu?
I do. Now, don't spoil Jalen Walker too much here.
I'll just say, if you like Frankie Louvu and you wanted a 250, 245-pound version of Frankie Louvu who can play on the edge and is super explosive, you're probably going to like Jalen Walker.
Seems useful.
What a monster he is, man. He's so good. Now, don't let him play man coverage. I'm not going to do the show before the show tomorrow, but like he is a player that requires certain other pieces of a defense to make the most out of who he is as a player. So I think that's a nice teaser for tomorrow as we wrap up the top 10 here in this mock draft. 5 defensive players and 6 if you include Travis Hunter in the top 10, which is real different than last year at 14 offensive players. Offensive players.
Right. All right, I scrolled 28 yards. I'm going to scroll a few more here on the other side of it. And of course, we're going to get into the Rams with a new offensive direction per Kyle Krabs here. Talk about that and more on the other side of it. Be sure to stick with us. Hey, football fans, remember our great partner, Ultimate Pro Football GM? Well, they're back, and they have an amazing new game that I need to tell you about. The game that has you step into the shoes of a football franchise GM and lead it to glory now has a new head coach career mode. So on top of building your dynasty by drafting players, signing free agents, and hiring the coaching staff, you get to call the offensive plays during games. Additionally, you'll dig the new tools you can work with, such as individual training camps and an upgraded negotiation system. So this fun and realistic game just got a lot better. If you have already installed it, be sure to update it so you can try out the new mode. And if you don't have it yet, download it now. It's a must-have for all football fans. I love it. I know that you will too. Ultimate Pro Football GM is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline, on the go, as you want and when you want to. And here's a little special offer for Locked On fans. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your franchise. Make sure to get it, as this perk will jumpstart your play and give you the advantage you'll want in creating a dynasty. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate Pro Football GM. Start your dynasty today. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just join and visit FanDuel.com to join today. I got in on some Jalen Waddle props. I saw over 46.5 yards. I said, I'll take that.
You're lucky the opening possession happened.
Boy, am I glad the first possession happened. That was we rode that one. Also, if you like Lions and Jaguars this week, right now you can get the Lions at -13. They're probably going to cover that, maybe double that actually. So get in on the action. You'll get started with $100 or $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. It's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Travis Hunter currently plus 340 to be the #1 pick on FanDuel.
Interesting.
Some interesting names on this list. Off the top of your head, top 5. Who do you think they are?
Well, obviously Travis Hunter. I will say Cam Ward.
Cam Ward is #3 at plus 750.
I'll say Shedeur Sanders.
Shedeur Sanders is #1 at plus 200.
Okay, so that's the top 3.
Yeah.
I will say Abdul Carter.
There's Abdul Carter is tied for 7th at plus 2,600. There's an offensive lineman and another quarterback.
Will Campbell?
Will Campbell is plus 2,200. He's #5.
Don't do that. And there's a quarterback.
Yeah, don't do that because Will Campbell's a guard, but we'll have that conversation.
Garrett Nussmeier.
Garrett Nussmeier is plus 2,600, so he's tied for 7th.
There's another. What other quarterback is it? Milroe?
Jalen Milroe is 6th at plus 2,200. This player's at plus 1,500. And I'm going to tell you now, it's not the player that I said call the gaming commission because they're stealing your money back in July when it was Quinn Ewers was plus 300 to be the #1 overall pick. But this is equally as bad of a proposition for a player to go in the first overall spot.
Am I familiar with this player? Is it Dylan Gabriel?
Hart.
Oh, Jackson. Okay, all right. I see that Ashton Genty goes to the Cowboys. That's going to be every mock draft, right? We have to do that.
And I know Cowboys fans didn't really like it.
Really?
They don't want to spend a first-round pick on a running back.
Really?
I'd be like, I don't know. I'd start collecting some elite players because you don't have a lot of them right now.
Yeah,
regardless of where they play.
In this draft, part of my appetite for Ashton Genty to Dallas is just the players that I've watched at this point. It's like, man, yeah, let's get the elite player. And
he's one of 4 top 10 grades I've given out in the entire class.
You give it 4. Okay. I could see myself getting 3. We'll see. All right, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll see. We
got a lot of work to do, Kyle Krabs. I'm not over here grinding the tape, for the front.
Change your handle. Change your handle.
Grinding the film.
Grinding the film.
Oh, Kenneth Grant to the Bengals. He's not getting to 30, is he? All right.
There's a 0% chance Kenneth Grant's getting to 30.
Wait, hold on. Okay, I know we got to talk about the Steelers pick. I haven't got there yet. I'm going to pick 15.
The Steelers pick is in the mid-20s. We got to talk about the Rams.
the Rams pick. Okay, I haven't got there yet, but I want to talk about this one because I like fake names. And so I've been told there's a tackle from Texas by the name of Kelvin Banks who is supposed to be a high pick. I watched him. I didn't see it. Now you have some other tackle, Cameron Williams.
Yeah, he's the right tackle.
Okay, he's better. What's the deal here? He's going to Seattle at 15.
I don't know if he's better. I think there's.
Oh, the next pick is Kelvin Banks.
Yeah, Banks goes the very next pick. So they go tackles back to back from Texas at 15 and 16. 6'5", 335 pounds. Athletic, but came into the year with one career start. So very inexperienced player, but the tools are off the charts. And that's kind of where you look at what you've seen from this year's tackle class. Kelvin Banks, I don't think's made the jump. Will Campbell, for me, I got a lot more comfortable with him as a player when I said he's a guard. And I don't think that should be a derogatory thing, but I just see a lot more limitations in tackle than, like Joe Alt last year, right? Like he doesn't move the same way. He doesn't have the same length. He has issues with speed and guys that can test him with speed and how he gets out onto an island and oversets, and then guys can work across his face, and he struggles to redirect in those situations, and he's really good in the run game, but I just think he's a guard. So then you're left with Ariante Ursary from Minnesota, who I think is a better run blocker than a pass protector in his own right. It would have been Josh Simmons from Ohio State, but he went down with a season-ending knee injury, so he was the guy who really made the leap this year with his play. Cameron Williams, he's a good player. He's a true junior. Has raw, unbridled power at 6'5", 335 pounds. And for Seattle, with a right tackle, with Abraham Lucas going into a contract year, and he's had injuries the last 2 years, I think Cam Williams can maybe play inside a little bit for you in the short term if you needed to, if Lucas was going to be good to go and you're going to roll with him. That was part of a piece of why he ends up landing at 15 in front of Kelvin.
That's fun. That's fun. I see that you have a new direction for the Rams offense. I want to get into it. This is fascinating. Number 17 pick, Colston Loveland, a tight end out of Michigan. I believe this is the first tight end you have going, and I know that there's been hype for some other tight ends. Break it down, man. This is really interesting. They paid Colby Parkinson. Obviously, Taylor Higbee's been a thing for them, but he's been injured. They threw the ball to Davis Allen about 1 million times last night, which was weird. What's going on here with the thought process?
So remember who the Rams were really hot on?
Brock Bowers, yeah.
In the draft, right?
Yeah.
And so Brock Bowers. This is the Brock Bowers-esque receiving tight end from this year's class. He spends about 60 to 65% of the time detached from the formation as either a slot or an out wide receiver. So he's more of a flex guy. He is really good ball skills. He's finding a way in a, quite frankly, horrible Michigan offense. Their passing offense without McCarthy has completely fallen off the rails. And yet he's tied his career single season touchdown mark. He's set a career mark in receptions through 9 games with 53. And he's just that kind of same style of player. I'm not going to say he's Brock Bowers. I think Brock's more special after the catch. I think Brock probably gives you a little bit better juice with what he does as a blocker in space than Colston Loveland. But this is a big-bodied player with really strong hands who can be a detached from the set or move piece. And then you think about the Rams. Cooper Kupp trade rumors, potentially moving on. He's had durability issues. Got this young guy in Puka Nacua. The fact that they were interested in the Bowers piece to further blur the lines between their 11 personnel with their condensed sets and their 12 personnel packages with a player like this. I just thought about the vision that they seemingly really had for Brock Bowers. And I asked myself, is there anybody in this year's class that can afford that to them and help them move on from Cooper Kupp? And the answer was yes, and it was Colston Loveland.
I think that's fascinating. That would be fun. I'd like that idea quite a bit. Man, I'm seeing some of these defensive tackles, defensive linemen rise here. I'm seeing Derek Harmon now going in the top 20, Walter Nolan going in the top 20. I can't wait to watch. Walter Nolan's on tap for tomorrow too, right?
That's right.
So we got Jalen Walker, Walter Nolan, and the Minnesota tackle. I'm not going to try to say his name.
Ursary.
Okay. My favorite part of every mock draft is the back
8,
12.
back 10.
Yeah, we're getting to that here on the other side of it, folks. Be sure to stick with us. There's nothing like being at the stadium, watching your favorite team play, watching your favorite quarterback throw touchdowns. If you want to get to the stadium, you got to get the Game Time app. Game Time is the fast and easy way to purchase tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. The app is awesome. They give you these flash deals. They give you a picture from your seat. If you buy a ticket, they send it straight to your phone. And I especially love that they specialize in last-minute ticket specials. I love to go to concerts, my wife and I, and all the tours are getting announced right now. And you think I have a clue if on March 25th I can go to a concert in Greensboro? I don't have a clue. But with Game Time, I can make that decision right up into the day of the event and get a great deal on last-minute tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.
Did you see this poor gentleman on Wheel of Fortune?
Man, I've seen a lot of poor gentlemen on Wheel of Fortune.
So it was a phrase, and it was very, like, he bought a U, he got like 3 or 4 U's. It is very clearly give yourself a round of applause is the answer to the puzzle.
Okay.
So he buys the U's, and he says, I want to solve the puzzle. Mind you, the first word is give, which is 4 letters long.
Mm-hmm.
His guess to solve the puzzle was treat, which is 5 letters. So he's already got the first word wrong.
Oh, boy, it's tough.
Treat yourself a round of sausage.
Oh, that's bad.
And about halfway through, you hear like the pain in his voice where he's like,
oh, boy, you did it.
I
You're
know
viral.
I'm wrong, but I got
You went viral. Who's the host now? I know, didn't Pat Sajak retire? Did they get a new one yet?
Ryan Seacrest.
He's really, man. This is crazy. We got a new host for Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. You know, that's staples of. I mean, when you're growing up, didn't you watch those shows every night?
Yeah, well, and then you were homesick. Like you do, like
Catch the
Price is Right.
Yeah,
like
Price
at home
is
when you're
Right.
homesick during
Rob
the day.
Barker. Man,
Yeah.
those were the days. Those were the days. Look at us.
Kids today don't understand.
They don't get it. No idea. They
Treat yourself a round of sausage today in honor of the Wheel of Fortune guy. What stands out to you? Let's see from.
I want to start right here. James Pierce is 21. I feel like this guy's fallen. What's going on with my edge rusher out of Tennessee? He's got a lot of
edge rusher, man. It's just a weird thing. He's been awesome in SEC play. Now he's not the only guy who's been awesome in SEC play. Do me a favor, look at the picks that happened from 11 to 20 and tell me where you'd like James Pierce to go. Because I agree with you. It was like, man, like I'd really like to get this guy probably in the top 15 with how he's rushing the passer the past month.
Tampa.
Yeah, I know you don't like Nick Scorton, but like you don't have a problem with Nick Scorton, but like he's not necessarily your cup of tea. The challenge is for Tampa Bay. What types of guys have they usually gone after?
They should change their idea on that because they keep.
That's not up to me. That's up to Jason Light.
All right, I'm seeing fake names are popping up here. I'm at 24 here. We got to get the Steelers pick and more fake names. Green Bay Packers. You have made this guy up. Donovan from Boston College. He has edge rusher. I trust that.
Izaraku.
Yeah, what a name. Izaraku. That guy's got to be awesome. What's going on here? This is a new name.
Fun fact. Who is the Packers defensive coordinator?
Oh, know about Jeff Hafley. Yeah.
Where Jeff Hafley coached
Boston College.
Right? And where's Izaraku play?
Wow, you
Boston
really connected the dots there, Kyle Krabs. This is why they pay you the big bucks to write these mock drafts.
He's 6'2", 250 pounds, very fluid. He's not as long as James Pierce. And I think that's the reason why, like, he's maybe not a little bit higher, but he's been one of the most productive pass rushers in FBS this year. And for Green Bay, they trade Preston Smith. Lucas Van Ness hasn't really come together for them yet. I know they really like corner. Their fans really like corner as like a need for that team. But I'm in this weird intersection of like, I don't really like corners in this stretch of the draft. There's a few that pop up here before the end of the mock. But at 24 for Green Bay, I wanted to go out and get him another pass rusher, and the connection with Halfley I thought made a lot of sense.
This Chargers pick, Tyler Warren, the tight end for Penn State. That's a fun pick. But I don't want Luther Burden, 25 to the Commanders. I feel like he's sliding. This was a name. If you looked at mock drafts at the beginning of the year, Luther Burden was a top 10 pick. Got him going 25 here to the Commanders.
Yeah, so he was one of the best run after catch threats at wide receiver in the entire country last year. And that hasn't necessarily manifested itself. The offense in general has been tough at Missouri. But I think some of the guys that at wide receiver that have passed him, like Isaiah Bond, I have going 19 to Denver in front of Luther Burden. And Bond has a lot of really likable traits. I think he's much more fluid. I think he's a better route runner. But
there's more on the menu with Bond. It's just
correct. Correct. So I think Burden right now, early on, the question is now, I think, becoming, is he just a little bit more of a scheme touch type guy? Because it's a lot of perimeter screens and getting the ball in his hands and utilizing his speed in the open field, which exists and is there. But his development's not linear. I think we all are readily able to acknowledge that. But his development and trajectory, I think, is a little bit more neutral, and that's why he's sliding a little bit. But I like the fit with Washington a lot, opposite of a guy like Terry McLaurin, who is the route runner type.
Yeah. Yeah, they want to run quick game as well in Washington.
Yeah.
I like the fit. Yeah, I think it's worth pointing out, sliding a little bit maybe compared to what some of the preseason expectations are. You got a fake name to Pittsburgh here, Mansour Delane.
Not a fake name. Come on, this is your neck of the woods now.
Well, it used to be when I was dialed in on this stuff. Corner from Virginia Tech. I mean, that's they put some good corners in the league. This is a baller. Pittsburgh. I know there's a type with Pittsburgh, right? They like a certain type of corner.
Yeah, it's very physical player.
This guy's going ahead of Benjamin Morrison in this mock draft.
So he's much more physical than Benjamin Morrison. And then Benjamin Morrison has a season-ending hip injury. So you got a hip injury that takes you out for 2/3 of your season.
Yeah,
Mansour Delane's out here. The ball production for him has really clicked. He's about 6'1", 190 pounds, can play inside, play outside. You know who he reminds me of a little bit? Cam Smith. Like South Carolina Cam Smith. I
remember him well.
Not second-round pick that should have played, but Vic Fangio didn't like him, so now you're dealing with some developmental lumps in year 2, and that should have been a last year thing, Cam Smith. And I know how much you liked Cam Smith.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to bring up Mansour Delane as a player who, for Pittsburgh, Dante Jackson's been good for them, but he's in a contract year as part of the initial trade of Deontay Johnson. Joey Porter's developed into a really physical player. So to get a couple of really physical players, we all know about Beanie Bishop. Steelers fans told us about Beanie Bishop back in May.
You don't even have to use a draft pick on him, Just get him.
So now you got Porter, Delane, and Bishop in the nickel with Minka Fitzpatrick and Deshaun Elliott as a couple of really good safeties. Like, man, defense be a problem. Yeah. This guy's good. Yeah.
Super Billsy pick, Landon Jackson, Arkansas defensive end. I know who he is. We don't have to spend time here. That's a very Billsy pick. Totally understand.
He's better this year. He's even better this year.
Good. I watched a little bit of Arkansas earlier this year, and he popped for me. And I think he also got injured in the game. But.
He's stacking dubs. Like every year, he has gotten progressively better, and like I think he's added more variety to his game this year. Like he's more developed than what Greg Rousseau was, but Greg Rousseau was the name in my mind when I'm making this pick. Yeah, they took that super tall, angular, powerful defensive lineman and they developed him. Like Jackson's got a lot of the same stuff.
They got to pay Rousseau all the money here, so getting an economic option opposite of him makes a lot of sense. I'd love to hear about Donovan Jackson if you can do that and get us out of here. I don't want to get in trouble for going long.
Yeah, so we'll wrap it up. I have a lot of respect for what Donovan Jackson is doing this year at Ohio State. When Josh Simmons went down, Jackson's had to play left tackle. What's become very clear is he's not a tackle. Been watching him try and block Abdul Carter in Penn State.
So that's the deal here. This is a tackle that's going to play inside. That's all the tackles this year, right?
But he played guard until 2 games ago. And then Josh Simmons went down and they said, hey, our best combination of 5, we're going to have to ask you to go out and block Abdul Carter again in Penn State game. It didn't go well.
Makes me feel better. Yeah.
I got a lot of respect for being put in that position and playing through it. And then he bounced back in Ohio State's second game. And I thought I had a much more respectable game against lesser competition than Abdul Carter. But for Detroit, Kevin Zeitler and Graham Glasgow, both good guard options, but are they long-term guard options for you? And this is the identity of this football team. Jeff Risdon specifically requested this one too. I say, you know what? I think Jackson's played his way into the top 50 conversation. So if Jeff Risdon thinks that's a Lions need, we'll lock and load it for him. And I thought about it a little bit, got here to pick 31 where Detroit was scheduled to pick. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? This does work. So let's do that. So that is latest run. As Joe mentioned, the link to the entire mock draft, if we didn't talk about your team, is in the show notes. We will be back again tomorrow to do some NFL draft prospect deep dive. I'm Kyle Krabs. He is Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys for checking out the show. Hope you come back and see us again tomorrow for some more NFL draft talk before we get you ready for week 11 on Thursday. We are out of here.